Hello, you all. Welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I've come on here to share with you all a Halloween spread that I did in my Cancer Mixed Media Art Journal. But before I get started, I hope that you're all having a great weekend. Happy Sunday to you all. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and share with you all what I use first, and then I'll share with you all what I created in my spread. And this is my first Halloween spread that I've done in my journal. And it also gives me inspiration as well, where I can go back and make cards, because I do love making cards as well. But right now I'm just, having fun playing in my art journal. So yeah, so like I said, it gives me inspiration to, go back through maybe next year or later on this year for Halloween or whatever the case may be, and make some cards using, my own inspiration of what I created in my journal. So what I use in my journal, I did use some distress spritz in wilted violet, which I love the distress spritz, so I use that. I also used some distress oxide spray in black soot and also in wilted violet. I did also use some distress paint and brush pewter. I have purchased several different color paints, and I'm glad I got this because I didn't think I was going to use it, but I did, so it came in handy. So brush pewter. I also used the new distress texture paste in twinkle, which I love as well. And then I used the distress texture paste in black opaque. I used several oxide inks and one distress ink. So I used distress ink in vintage photo. Then I used black soot, which of course I'm going to use that for the Halloween. Ground espresso, lost shadow. And then I also used oxide in crackling campfire, gathered twigs, peel paint, carved pumpkin, and mustard seed. Then I use two stencils. So the first stencil I use is a Harlequin stencil, and this is THS016. So I use that. And then I also use the bat stencil, which is THS184. The dyes that I use, so I use the, this one is called the Graveyard Colorized. So I just use a little gate here for that's all I use from this dye. It's just a gate. And it's actually, you got the gate itself, and then the black parts are 4 separate dyes that you cut out to layer on top. And then I also use this dye, which is the Vault Fright Night. And so I use some of the trees here, and then I use the ghost and the crescent moon. And then this is a focal point of my spread, which is the Edison dye. I love this pumpkin, so much fun to put together. So I use that in the clouds. From this dye is the Vault Gothic Portraits, and I use just the Boo. And then I did pull this dye out again that I've used in my other spreads for fall. I just use some of the foliage in here just to add to my spread. So those are the dyes that I use for my spread. So let me go ahead and share with you all my spread and explain to you what I did. So here is my Halloween spread that I created, and I love the way it turned out. Just a lot of fun just to put together. Had no idea which way I was going with this, but this is the way it turned out. So yeah, just to give you guys a close look. So that is a spread. So what I did was I took the 2 distress oxide sprays in wilted violet and also in the black soot, and I sprayed the background just to get the background how I want it to be. And I did use my heat tool to dry in between the layers, as I learned from Tim Holtz, because if you spray everything down, it just kind of mixes all together and you don't really get the look that you're going for. So that's what I did. I just kind of put the colors down, sprayed, dried it in between to give it the look. So I like how I got some of the light at the top, a little bit of light at the sides, and a little bit at the bottom as well. And so once I did that, then I took the stencil, the Harlequin stencil, and I used some black soot oxide ink, and I just kind of stenciled those little diamond shapes in the background just to give it something extra, if you can see that. So that's what I did there. And then once I did that, then I cut all my pieces with distress heavyweight cardstock from Tim Holtz as well. And I did my clouds. I used lost shadow, and I inked up the clouds, and then I went around it a little bit with some black soot. And then I also cut out the ghosts as well, and I inked around those with some black soot. And then I cut out the crescent moon. I used mustard seed for the crescent moon, And I did put some twinkle paste on that, and also the ghost, and then the Edison pumpkin here. The Edison pumpkin was a lot of fun to put together. You got 3 layers. So the background layer with the black, I used Distress Oxide ink for that. And then I used carved pumpkin for the second layer. And that's what you see, the light part of the orange there. And then the top part, I used crackling campfire to layer them up. And then I did go around it with some black soot Distress Oxide ink. And then the stem, I used gathered twig and ground espresso to give it that two-tone color, and also distress it with black soot around the edge. And then this, the trees right here is using Tim Holtz craft cardstock, and I use it in black to put the trees there like they're over, you know, kind of hanging over the image here of the pumpkin and the ghost. Here is the gate. So the light color here is also the brush pewter that I use on the boog. So I painted that in brush pewter when I cut it out. And then I also use the brush pewter here with a distress paint as well. And then I used Tim Holtz craft cardstock, and I cut those black parts out to glue on top of the gate. So I did cut those out 3 times. So I got 3 gates here. And then I just put Edison pumpkin on top. And then I used the twinkle paste on that as well, if I didn't mention. And then I did also, because I wasn't going to, this was just kind of plain, so that's where I took the foliage leaves from the foliage reef dye, and I just did some dipping with, I think I did vintage photo, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm sorry, I did gathered twigs and either carved pumpkin or crackling campfire, just to give the color that I wanted since it's fall, Halloween. So I just did some dipping with the leaves to give them some color. And I did some drawing in between as well, just so it didn't mix, you know, the colors didn't mix in and create the mud look. And then I went around it with some vintage photo. Yeah, distress ink, just to give some more distressing. And then I also use a stencil, the bat stencil right here. And I stenciled the bats in with the black black opaque texture paste. So I got a bat here, we got a bat right here, we got a larger bat there, a bat over here by the tree, and then a little small bat on this side. And then these are some Tim Holtz, I think they're oh, what's the name? I can't think, but they're little stars. They are stars. And I just use the smallest, and then like the one next to that size to put just some stars in the background, because, you know, it's nighttime. And then the last thing I did, well, before the last thing, then I took some distress spritz, and I just, you know, just kind of, I took the nozzle out, and I just kind of, you know, tapped it on the page so it didn't get on all the other images that I've done here, just to give it some more shine and, you know, sparkle along with the stars in the background. And then I did take some distress oxide and black soot, and I just kind of went around the edges a little bit just to distress that as well. So this is, you all, my first Halloween spread that I've created in my Canson Mixed Media Art Journal. I hope that y'all enjoyed this share today. Like I said, I had a lot of fun making it, and it gives me inspiration to make cards when I'm ready to make some cards. So I do want to thank you all so much for watching. You all have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.